maybe the type of like, maybe when you bang a stick on the tree trunk, like you attract the attention of larger animals or something. Or I don't know, like you attract the attention of more people.
Um, it kind of draws the attention away from the music, right?
Yeah,
the
it
whole
does.
Story.
Yeah, the story. So I guess there's like a balance that you have to strike. I mean, it's a good story, and you could probably make an interesting game if you like gave it a little bit more thought. I'm just like, you could try and keep it as an attractive music video if you like made the way that you attract things like
Make the story more relevant to.
like you have to continue music happening, or you have to keep like some kind of melody going, and you like there's interactions that you do to keep specific musical things going so that people are more interested. And if you don't do those musical things, then they start leaving because they're not interested.
I just think the whole story is too.
It's really complicated.
Indirect. Like
Yeah.
you need to do this to keep the music, and you need
Yeah.
the music to keep the animals, and you need the animals to keep the
darkness away.
So yeah, I think.
I don't know, maybe. You said you had two ideas.
Yes, another one. Another one is, have you like years ago?
Sure.
I've come across those kind of videos on YouTube
Okay.
where you can choose how the story goes.
Right.
Have you
like
tried
the like
yeah,
the digital narrative
or
content.
yeah. Like
or like books. They wrote books like that.
you can
where you
click
flip to this
on-
page.
you can click on, let's say, and there are boys and girls and whatever, and they're going to break up, and then you can click on the screen, like choose which way they would go. Like, do they really
Is it like
break
a
up?
poll, or is it like they created a different like outcome for each one?
It's actually just a button. So they created two storylines, and
Sure.
if you choose A, then
And it branches out.
the video would just play A, and if you choose B. So I'm thinking, like, if we could do this in VR, wouldn't that be magnificent?
I mean,
Like in a 3D space,
right.
and think of it as a magic cube.
Sure.
Like, there are a lot of different cubes, and
Okay.
each cube constitutes part of the storyline. So let's say the basic story is just a traditional music video, but
sure.
there are different props, right?
Okay.
Like in the environment and in VR, and if you interact with one props, you're gonna maybe change how the story goes.
Are you part of the music video, or are you watching it?
You're watching it, but you can change it.
So do the like characters recognize you?
No, they are just doing their own thing, but you change how they perform.
Okay.
Because it's kind of it's not butterfly effect. It's you are like God, so you can intervene with what these people are doing, and of course you change the music.
Right.
So I'm imagining like if there is a traditional music video and there are boys, one boy and one girl, and they're having a bunch of flower and whatever, and then if you are in this video, you can just change the flower, and after you've changed the flower, maybe the boy changed or whatever changed. So you triggered change in the music video. So the whole story just changed.
Right. I mean, that would be a little difficult to pull off like in real time, I guess.
Very ambitious.
It would be because you have to like write different stories, or maybe would you write like different music for each outcome?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you wouldn't have to do that though. I feel like you could just. I mean, that would just be like a game because they've got like narrative like that. Like they actually. I think I remember seeing there was a game that came out that was basically you wrote your own movie, but you like every 5 seconds it would like give you like 5 seconds to choose a course of action for you as a character, and they had like odds of success, and then you would choose them, and like it randomly was like, is it successful or not? And then you do that, and it's like this whole like 2-hour long experience where it's like a fully produced movie either way. It's like cool. So there's like games like that. I don't know if that wouldn't even have to be like a music video. That could just be a game. It would be complicated to just write in the first place, right?
Yeah, and how do you tie this to music?
Yeah. Well, you don't have to. I mean, that's just. I mean, you could try and like write your own music video. What happens here? But like that's. I mean, that's a little bit more involved. That's not really like.
That's too difficult.
It's a little difficult, especially for people who are like non-musicians or like non-videographers. It's like, well, why are you asking me? Just show me the damn music video. Right? I don't know. That might be a little difficult to pull off.
Can we go back to your horror idea? I think that's very
Sure.
developable.
I mean, yeah, that's the one we were talking about. I mean, but like, I have a list actually. I have a list of like ideas. So for instance, the one that we actually left off on the first week, so we didn't do this kind of thing last week. But what we did the first week was, imagine you're at a pool party, right? And you start off the music video like above the water, but you're in the pool, and you can hear kind of like, but the sky is totally like bright, and you're just alone in this pool. But as soon as you dip your head below the water, it turns, like, the environment completely changes. So, like, you're suddenly, like, under the ocean, and there's, like, this party going, or whatever, and there's, like, music playing. And then there's these tools under the water that you mess around with, but they don't do anything to the music. And they only do something to the music when you lift your head back up, and then things play in like the order that you affected them. So like if you like dip your head below the water and you mess around with stuff and knobs and stuff, and then you like wait, and then you dip your head above the water and like you hold it there for a bit, then all of the stuff you did kind of plays back. And so the game is kind of, I mean, the way we were describing it, like the game is like just trying to figure out what those tools do. There's not necessarily a story that we had written yet for it, but we were thinking at some point, if you do like enough things or you pull off a cool enough combination, suddenly it's not, like for instance, at the very beginning, whenever you're above, when you look down, it's just water, it's just a pool. And then when you duck your head below, when you look up, it's just like the ocean waves or whatever above you. That you can like stick your head up through, and so it totally changes. But like halfway through the song, suddenly instead of like the horizontal, it's actually vertical divide. So on one side, you've got like the beach and like the ocean, and there's like a pirate ship on top of the ocean that's also like celebrating in this party. And then on the other side, like as you do more things, the pool party actually develops, and so more people start showing up and like messing around in the pool, and like they start dancing or whatever to the music that you made while you were under the water. And then on top of the water, you also have a tool set that changes the music that happens under the water. So if you really, so it's like, you're like, and you go check and see, and they're like, whoa, and the music changes, and like they're dancing to the things that you made. And then it just goes, and so there's like a basic rhythm, there's a basic beat, but you can do stuff to it, but it only becomes evident when you go to the other side. And then at the very end, it's like this big mashup where like the pool party goers like go start swimming in the ocean, and the pirate ship is like, you know, cross, and like when it crosses over, it turns into like this like weird like toy party boat or whatever in the pool or something. So we were thinking, it's like, and then you kind of mix it together as like this big kind of like collage of like there's this pool party and then there's this ocean party that kind of combine together.
So the cool thing about this is the delayed effect.
Yeah. So it's like you both. There's this game called Broken Age that was released by LucasArts, I think, and it was this game where I think basically there's two separate stories going on, and so like one, you're in the spaceship, right, piloting, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. The other one is you're like on the beach, and then you're trying to stop this huge angry beast from devouring people every year. And so basically the things that you do in either world affect the other one. And so you have to switch back and forth between the worlds in order to finish the stories, because you have to do things at the same time. And like in the story, you don't know that you have to do this. But you, the actual player, is like, all right, well, I have to do this. And when I do that, that opens up this door in the other world. I then go through and press this thing so that the other world can do that thing. Because it turns out they're actually in the same world together, but they're living completely different realities. So
does your so it's basically the same logic.
Yeah, kind of like, so it's like, but it'll be interesting, like, what kind of, it'll be like a music, like the game, like I'm trying to, like, there's not like conflict, right? But I mean, there's a plot progression, but how would you like explain that to the person? It's like,
what is your goal when you play the game? What do you want to accomplish?
Yeah, well, it's like, you're kind of, I mean, the way I thought of it is like, the first part is like, you're trying to figure out where the music is coming from. So like, you're like in this pool, and you're like, your head is like just above the water, and you're like, why is there music playing? How relevant that there's like a band is playing next to us. But like, it's like, where's the music coming from? And then you check under the water, like, whoa, there's things happening down here. But like, one key issue that we haven't like figured out is how do you introduce like music tool sets? Like, what kind of things would make sense to like mess with in order to create music up above the water? I don't know, how would you connect that in a story?
I think I would make it relevant to the environment.
Sure.
What would be lame would be things that are marine-like.
Right.
And another way is if you want to tie that to the pirate story, then
sure.
You use anything that's relevant to pirates.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, but like, what kind of? I'm just, yeah. I mean, we're just like trying to brainstorming like a story for like, why do you start messing around with things?
You could say that you're lost in the sea,
right?
And you come across an old ship, and the old ship, there are some ancient kind of musical instruments there, and they're 200 years old, and anyway, you want to do something to these 200-year-old.
Yeah, I guess there's like, it's missing like a kind of game element, where it's like, you have to do this. So it's like, you duck your head under the water. Well, because in my mind, it was like a cartoony kind of thing, right? Where it's like, you duck your head under the water, and there's like all these happy little fishes, and they're like, I don't know, dancing or whatever. But I mean, I guess at the start, it wouldn't be. In the start, it would just be like, this is like, the music would like become clear, and you would hear like the more full versions, like, whereas on top, you could only hear like a really like filtered down version of that, and you duck your head, it's like,
Maybe it's just
but
the
like,
fishes, they were a band.
Right.
Like the fishes or different marine animals,
they're beckoning you, they're trying to get you to play or something.
They're playing the ancient musical instruments.
Maybe when you try and use the instruments, nothing happens. And they're like, hey, what's happening? Why is there no sound happening? And then something like urges you to like check above, and as soon as you check above, you see a video of yourself doing things below the water, combined with how it's changing the environment. So you like raise your head above the water, and suddenly the whole thing is changed. Like, it's like, like chords happen, like everything that you messed with, all the tools that you messed with down there, they're like, why isn't it doing anything? And you check up above, and immediately you're like blasted by sounds like, whoa, this is totally different now. And there's a video of you, like,
mean the oversea?
Yeah, the oversea, like you're in a pool, right?
Oh.
You're like in a pool, and at first you were alone, but now there's like streamers or whatever, and they're like changing, and you get like some kind of representation of what it was you were doing down below the sea, down below the water, and that, and then you see that happening along with how the environment changes, and suddenly you're given a new set of tools. I don't know what kind of tools you would have in a pool though. Like, I don't know, because the thing is, like, it's like a music creation thing, so it would actually end up being super involved. And like, so how would you make it super simple to make interesting music? I don't know. That's like a question.
I think that would be interesting. Like, think about there is some performance in China where people play with water to create. Yeah, it's called water musical performance. So it's like you hit the water with different stuff.
Different stuff. Does it make different sounds?